In Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition, the Wyvern is described as a winged reptile distantly related to dragons, with razor-sharp teeth and a poison-tipped barbed tail. Though similar to dragons in appearance, the Wyverns were much smaller and less intelligent than even the white chromatic dragons. They were known to be highly aggressive, instinct-driven creatures who would terrorize grazing animals, humanoids, and flying creatures alike, using their massive claws, sharp fangs, and scorpion-like tail to kill creatures while in the air. The Wyvern has an AC of 13 and 110 hit points, with a speed of 20 and a flying speed of 80. They have terrible stats except for strength or constitution, but sport a +4 to perception, which helps them hunt. In combat, they have a multi-attack which includes 1 bite and 1 stinging attack, or they can substitute 1 claw instead of one of the other 2 when in flight. The bite has a damage potential of 6 to 12, the claw has a potential of 6 to 20, and the stinger a potential of 6 to 16, with an additional constitution save against poison that, if failed, deals 7 to 42 poison damage. As a DM, I would use the Wyvern in the way that their lore suggests. I would have them target a player randomly, or target the one that seems the weakest, which in the mind of a beast is usually the ones without armor. I would have the Wyvern swoop down on a target and attempt to grapple them with one of their attacks. If successful, I would then have the Wyvern fly into the air as high as possible, bringing its prize along for the ride. I would then use the second attack in that multi-attack to strike the target with the stinger. In subsequent turns, I would have the Wyvern use a claw and a sting against the grappled target, until they're either knocked out or are freed, and then I would move on to the next creature. If, for whatever reason, the Wyvern is simply unable to grapple, I would switch tactics to a swooping strike, having the Wyvern dive low and hit with a claw and stinger, then fly up and away to avoid most strikes, as well as to give disadvantage on most ranged attacks. The only time I would use the bite attack is if the Wyvern is grounded, as it should always be moving through the air, giving it the superior claw attack in lieu of the bite. In British mythology, the Wyvern is a type of dragon that walks on 2 hind legs and has 2 webbed wings, as well as a long barbed tail with a stinger much like a scorpion. It's theorized that the origin of the Wyvern has its roots in winged snakes, a common myth in the ancient Mediterranean, with the most notable being the Egyptian goddess Wadjet. This concept oozed its way through Europe, and the Wyvern, like many Middle-Age myths, was a creature created from a more ancient myth. In the 1312 Great Roll, a series of vellum leaves depicting heraldries and names of over 1,000 lords and bannermen, several of them were noted as having started using 2-legged dragon-like creatures referred to as a wyvern, a name derived from the Old French word wyvern, which meant serpent. A century later, the word had been changed to wyvern, and the term dragon was also being used for a 4-legged counterpart, as well as for the wyvern depending on the location of the coat of arms. In England, Scotland, and Ireland in the 1500s, the 4-legged variant became more popular, and dragon became a distinctly different, though related creature, and both were used in heraldry and storytelling as distinct creatures with different meanings, connotations, and physiology. In comparing the monster to the myth, we find that they're basically the same. Like most D&D creatures based on Western European myths, the Wyvern is shot for shot the same creature, with 2 wings, 2 legs, and a tail complete with a poison stinger. Owing to the near limitless depictions of wyverns in heraldry and stonework, the Wyvern has become a staple in Western fantasy, and an expected addition to the list of monsters in D&D. Next week, we're going to be doing something a little different. I'm excited to announce that next week is Minute Mythology's Week of the Dragon, where we will be taking a quick look at each of the chromatic dragons. If you enjoyed that video, please leave a like and comment below, and consider subscribing to the channel. You can also join the Patreon for $1 a month to access videos days before they're posted here, as well as other exclusive stuff like short stories, videos, and more.